I did a really refreshing meditation before I started this, and it was so grounding because I've been so imbalanced to be honest, and it's all my choices, of course, but it's
Yeah.
also situations we're going through right now, and it's really hard to find the balance of everything. So it's me just not doing the real work, of course, of meditating and staying grounded and eating better foods and stuff. But I understand that it's I know where I got to go with it next, so it's that.
It's hard for us to implement structure when we haven't really had it, when we're used to it, you know?
Yeah, and I think that's the most shocking thing. Like I kept telling everyone, like I have, I think I've made it through the adaptive stage, but then it's like then you kind of become comfortable
Yep.
in that new stage of normalness, and
Yep.
it's not all that great either. So it's like, give me more, give me more.
Well, I feel like that's one thing it that I really learned as far as like growing in spirituality is we're taught in this life to be so like always want more, and it's okay to want more, but and we should always want more. But I also feel like we as a society, we don't focus as much on being grateful and having gratitude for everything that we're given all the time. So we get so like caught up in the day-to-day things of life that we have to deal with, and we don't even actually appreciate everything that we actually have for ourselves, because growing up you're always taught to like work hard and strive for more, and you always want to climb to that next totem pole, but we're never actually taught to sit down and really evaluate like what we have and be grateful for it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think it's through my understanding and practices, of course, it's the most powerful thing we can do. And I have this little reminder on my wrist. It's just a little bracelet, but it says gratitude.
Oh,
It's
that's so true.
in this piece, and I can wear it up, right, to remind me like often, or I can kind of wear it the other way. Like so, if I use my hands more, it's like I'm having gratitude for that. But it's such a good reminder to. I mean, not even when you're asking for more, but to just be present and being thankful for what is
Mhm.
around you.
Absolutely. It's been a long time, I feel like, since I've seen you or spoken to you, but I'm Josette. I've been doing lash extensions now for 5 years. My line of work, everything is, and to go off what you were just saying about things not being so structured, my life is always planned out like 2 to 3 weeks, maybe a month in advance with doing lashes. I have a pretty booked up schedule, and this has been a very, very transformative time for me, where nothing is planned for me. Everything is up in the air because I am considered non-essential. And it has just made me really had more of a clear vision about what I want for the future and the opportunities that might actually come and present themselves to me now, because I have been meditating more and going more within. I can actually sit and think about what is it that I want to bring to my future, rather than getting so caught up in this like, okay, I already know next Tuesday I have, 5 clients. I'm going to be at work from this time to this time. And then when I go into work and I have someone who maybe cancels or reschedules on me at the last minute, it's like, oh my gosh, like my whole day has now fallen apart, instead of being so grateful that maybe now I have an opportunity to settle down for a minute and take the time to focus on other things that I need to do within my business. And I realized that when I first started my business, that's how I was kind of looking at things like, oh my gosh, why would this person reschedule on me? Now I have 2 hours of my day that I can't really get back. I can't find anyone to put it in that spot. And I really kind of, just like I said, I'm trying to program, the way I'm thinking towards all of that, so that I can actually make better use of that time, especially in this time that we're in right now, where I can actually say, okay, now's the time where I can focus on having a more clear vision for my business. What do I want my website to look like? What do I want to bring to my clients now moving forward? Because this is really a time where I think people are opening their consciousness a little bit more and awakening to these other ways of thinking and doing things now. And I feel like that's only going to keep growing more from here. I don't know about you. I know you meet with a lot of different people, and you know people from all over the world, and I'm sure you've been seeing a lot of it, just more and more people kind of waking up to the way that the world has been for a while.
Yeah,
I don't know.
and I mean, it's one of those, like, we've kind of already been truth seekers. Is kind of what I've, those are the people that
Absolutely.
I'm attracting and crossing my path, with, of course. And I've traveled to a couple countries, but beyond that, it's really just my outreach online, and it's really awesome that we have the capability to do that, of course. And it's just refreshing. It kind of gives kind of a more grounding sense of existence, if you will, because I know that I'm not alone, and it's not just a what's happening in the U.S. thing. I know, like, globally, like the global consciousness level of things is real. Like,
Yeah.
once you tap into that again, that frequency is just, it's magical, and it's just a new life is reborn for you to experience.
My spiritual journey, I think, really started when I was, I would say probably about when I was 13, I started to open my mind and go a little bit deeper into these things. But with that, I mean, I was 13 years old, so I feel like probably a lot of the stuff that I had to deal with, even in life, kind of was, I don't want to say a hindrance towards me growing more spiritually, because it's not, it's all a lesson, it's all part of, my journey. But I would say probably when I was about 17 is really when I started to open my eyes to a lot of what had been happening. I just had this realization that, like, I don't want to say that, everything was a lie, but that's kind of what you start to feel like. Um, and you also realize that there's, you get almost angry too. You're around, like, with people around you, and you're like, how come you don't understand this, or you don't see things the way that I do? And you really want to, like, help people and open their mind to that way. But really what I've come to learn throughout all these years is that it's not about other people, it's about us and going inward within ourselves. Because once you do start to put yourself on the forefront and your spirituality, or just, tapping more in with your higher self, everything else just aligns around you. And that's, at this point, is what I'm trying to show people. Because I have a lot of people who are always like, how do you think the way you do, and how are you so positive all the time? And um it's just like, it hasn't happened overnight, guys. This has been little stepping stones for years and years and years now that have led me to where I'm at. And by no means am I done. This journey will never end. But I start to find the beauty in all of these things that are transcending me to the next level, rather than getting caught in that, like, negative way of thinking and being that we're so used to in society, because that's the way we're taught to analyze things for so long, you know?
Right. And I mean, did you grow up in the same town? Everything? Like, are you still there?
Pretty much, yeah. So we moved to Florida from Connecticut when I was about 8, and we moved to Englewood. And a couple years after we lived in Englewood and Charlie happened and stuff, we ended up moving to Port Charlotte. And I have lived here the whole entire time, basically since I was probably like 10 years old. But I do commute to Fort Myers for work. I personally, I like living in the smaller city and then commuting to a bigger city. But it's just so crazy how, I'm sure you can attest to this. Growing up here, everyone has always said, like, oh, there's nothing to do and there's nothing to see. And um, it's like, you guys, we actually live in a really great town that's pretty safe. The rent here isn't as astronomical as it can be in other places. And we have a slice of paradise in Punta Gorda, I feel like. It is super beautiful here. And that once again goes to kind of what I was saying earlier, where we just don't find gratitude in what we already have. We constantly want more. Where I can live here in Port Charlotte and pay a really decent amount of money for rent that I know I can afford. And then I can travel 30 to 45 minutes to work, or to go hang out with some of my friends and go do other things that might interest us a little bit more than what this town has to offer here.
Yeah, for sure. And I spent But basically, the 18 years there, and then when I did leave, when I I've been basically in Fort Myers, Estero, Bonita Springs,
Mhm.
6 years now. Um,
Yeah.
no, actually 8. Oh my goodness.
Wow. Wow.
But when I do go back home, it's a part of me that I won't let go of course. I get and appreciate that everybody has to be born somewhere. You have to come from a hometown, and you learn to have, again, gratitude for the little house you grew up in, for the little river that, exists. Like it really is not much, but there is
Yeah.
there is something for everyone, and I think you hit it, on the head correctly with there. It's like a slice of heaven. Like the Peace River it's a delightful place, and it really does cut off right into the Gulf. In Inglewood,
Yep.
like it may not be your prettiest beach coastline,
Right.
to like Tampa, Naples, but I mean you're by the water. It is safe. I definitely feel safe when I go home, and
And like I said, it's like what, a 30-minute drive, an hour drive
with
to
traffic,
go to, yeah, to go to even Tampa. It's like an hour and a half. I have friends who live in Orlando and Sarasota and Fort Myers, and what is it for me to really drive there and go visit them and experience something else for the day, and just network with other people down there and meet more people in those areas. It's really not a bad thing. Would I like to stay here forever? No, but that's just where I'm at right now. This is where I have felt led to be. And honestly, about 3.5 years ago, I got into a relationship. And honestly, like, my spiritual journey, I feel like, was really starting to kind of come more to fruition at that point. It was kind of something where I wasn't able to deny it anymore. You kind of go through that denial phase too, where you're like, yeah, I know I'm open to this, but I'm only turning to it kind of when I need to. And it started to come forward more and more and more for me, to the point where I just couldn't deny it. But I got so swept up in the relationship that I was in that I couldn't really move forward with my spiritual path the way that I wanted to. And what I've come to really learn, so when we moved here to Florida, it was my mom and her now ex-husband at the time. And right around when I was like 13 or 14, they got a divorce. We moved out of the house that we had always lived in. And I think that's like where a lot of the trauma started for me. And I didn't realize how much I was harboring that moving forward until recently, honestly, because I was 13 years old trying to mend my parents' relationship and trying to be the fixer and always make things work for them. And then I started to get older, and going through high school, I felt super, super lost. I felt like I didn't really belong to any one specific group. And I'm sure you know that, because growing up in Port Charlotte, it's a small town and everyone knows everyone. And there's all these like little cliques and groups that we all, associate ourselves with to make us feel like we belong somewhere. And I never really felt that. And because I felt so lost, I started, drinking, partying, getting involved in a lot of things that you shouldn't be involved in at a young age. And it wasn't until I came out of high school that I started to try to find myself again. But then I realized that I was actually repeating the same patterns that I was in with my parents' relationship, where I started to find myself wanting to fix people again, where I wanted to like mend these broken relationships or fix people. And I didn't realize that I was literally attracting that into my life because I was still associating myself with that person who was trying to fix my parents' relationship, honestly. So I ended up, moving out of my mom's house on my own with 2 roommates. Same kind of thing happening there, trying to fix. They weren't in a relationship, but they were best friends. And best friends living with each other, you know how that goes. Sometimes it can be a great thing or not great thing. And there was just a lot of miscommunication and all of that stuff. Plus, we were all super young. This was all of our first time living, by ourselves without our parents. And I found myself trying to fix that. And then I moved out of there and I moved in with my best friend and her boyfriend. And then I found myself trying to fix their relationship. And then, you know, I was dating my boyfriend and I found myself trying to fix him too. And it's just, you get so caught up in these cycles that you don't even realize that you are attracting the type of patterning that you have dealt with for so long, until one day you just wake up and you're like, this is not what I want to accept into my life anymore. I know that I am better than this. I know I deserve more. I know I am worthy of more. And that's kind of the point that I've gotten to now. And I think that's where a lot of people are going to start awakening, or they already have like woken up to this, because you go through those traumatic experiences in life and you go through those really, really hardships. And that's what makes you really wake up to this and open up to the idea that the way you've been accepting things for a long time is just not working out for you, you know?
Yeah, and I mean the whole worthiness part, I can't remember the exact, moment in time where I was like, you know what, I am worthy of basically change and doing better for myself. And, it probably was like a toxic relationship, of course, that I was in, where it's like, you know what, you can do better. Why are you not doing better for yourself? And
Yeah.
again, it doesn't happen overnight. Like you're saying, it's a real commitment to practicing and basically reconnecting with that inner self. And you're not going to find it outside. It really
Yeah.
is, like inner work of, okay, yes, this is a traumatic experience. I dealt with it, accept it. How can I heal and grow through it? It hasn't made me who I am. I have full control over that, and it's a full, really conscious decision, because prior to that,
Yeah.
it's an unconscious decision that you're just fulfilling those patterns again and again. And I can kind of relate. It's like trying to constantly help others when it's like you just got to help yourself. And it's not a
Yeah.
thing, it's really selfless, because when you can show up the most authentic and best self, best version of yourself to others, that's when you're going to attract a different crew. And then they're going to wonder, well, how are you so, again, enlightened and happy and joyful? And it's like you can share that experience and journey with them, and they can kind of hop on board with you.
Yeah, and that's just what I'm really trying to do now at this point. Because like I said, with that relationship that I was in, I was coming more forth with my spirituality, and then it was like roadblock, you know, where there was like just certain things that kept coming up that would kind of make me take a step back, because I kept wanting to help him first. You know, he was dealing with a lot of anxiety, a lot of depression. You know, he was not only self-medicating, but also medicating with pharmaceuticals, and we know how that goes. Um, it was just not that it was yeah, maybe it was a toxic relationship. There's still all love there between us, but it just helped me really learn that I had to stop trying to help other people. And the way that I can help other people is by helping myself first. And that is what now I'm trying to enlighten other people with also, and just how we're able to go about that by, like you said, grounding ourselves, whether that's going for a walk, meditating, listening to music, and just laying down, not getting so caught up in that, like this rat race that I feel like we've been running for a long time. And a lot of spiritual leaders and coaches that I follow, they talk about that a lot, how we literally have been running this rat race for so long, and we're always like go 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 go, and you don't actually have that opportunity to sit with yourself in the present moment and just take it in for what it is, soak it in, and then you actually can start to hear your inner voice and really realize what it is that you want. And I think a lot of people, they might start to see you as being selfish, or they might not understand where you're coming from, but that's all a part of this process as well. Because like you mentioned, there's going to be people who are attracted to you for all of those amazing things that you're doing, and there's going to be other people who don't resonate with it at all, but it's just because they're not in that place yet. You know, their perspective is just, it's not there. And everyone, you know, the way that they take things is from their own perspective at all times. And it's just not my job, I've realized, to try to make anyone come to this place. You know, there's nothing I could say or do that would make them come to this place. But if I can guide someone in the right direction with a couple of words and, you know, just give them some really awesome positive affirmations, then that's what I would really love to do, you know? And even with you're doing, it's amazing.
Thank you. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's a blessing. It really is. And it's refreshing because it really does remind me all of that I've learned along the way, of course, and I can reflect on so much through my own journey. And, you know, when I reconnect with people I've, of course, known along the way and see them grow through the same process, it's like, wow, this is like a really cool, you know, human
Yeah.
experience that we're having, of course. And, you know, I had that same, like I told you before, like wanting to help, but it was really just because I was given all this information that, again, wasn't that it was like I was lied to, but it was like a toolkit for basically spiritual success, we'll call it, that I
Yeah.
could learn, again, to reconnect and find peace of mind. And it's like, slow the fuck down because I'm always like moving way faster than I actually knew I was. And
Yeah.
you know, we're all so quick, you know, of course, the basically habitual conditioning comes from, you know, the schooling. It's wake up, get ready, go. It's time, you know, just
Yeah.
go.
And also with school, I think that it's almost like we start to place value in the wrong things. It's hard for you to open up certain creative outlets that you might want to explore because you feel like, well, you know, it really is a passion of mine to, you know, maybe produce or make music. And you only get, you know, one class out of the day where you can go practice music, and then you have to go home and do homework for all these other classes. And maybe you feel more guided to want to practice music that night and you don't study as hard, so then you end up failing your test the next day. And because you failed your test, now you're told, well, you're not valued at the level that you should be because you failed this, because you didn't understand the information that you were supposed to be given, you know, or you didn't understand the information that we gave you and you didn't test on it correctly. And we haven't been taught like really where to place value in our lives or how to be creatively free. And I think that's one thing that I suffered from a lot in high school. I don't know about you, but I grew up into a lot of different things. And I realized that I was good at a lot of different things, but I never, I guess, excelled at any one particular thing. Like I did martial arts, I did soccer, I did track. I also loved acting and doing those kind of things. But because I was never given that gratification or validation that I thought I was supposed to be given, it never gave me the motivation to continue on with any one thing. So the older that I got, the less and less I valued doing those things because I wasn't shown that value that I thought I was supposed to be, because that's that societal conditioning, you know, like you said.
Yeah, like a reward system, right? Like a certificate, and it's so weird. But
Yeah.
through basically a box that my mother had gave me before she moved out of her new house, basically junk she doesn't want of mine from elementary school. But it's crazy to think that, you know, my first, second, and third grade teacher was the same teacher. We kind of did this loop system, which was so radical, but, you know,
Oh,
it was an experiment, we'll say that much. But she would give us like these best smile award, best like this. And it's like, all right, it's kind of tripping up your ego in a way, but kind
oh
of,
my gosh.
but you also are humbled by like, okay, she recognizes, and you know, everybody ended up getting some type of award, giving that student the opportunity to like know, okay, yes, I see your value, in giving, of course, credit to like their work. And it's totally changed, I'm sure, through, you know, what
Hmm.
we're experiencing now. And I was going to ask you before, did you end up going to school in Connecticut then at all? You experienced school in Florida?
Did I end up going to school?
School in
Where?
Connecticut, or you like did all your schooling in Florida?
Yeah, I went to school there until I was in second grade. and things were pretty much the same as they were here. But when I grew up in Connecticut, and I think maybe that's why I value this small town that we live in so much, because my parents did take us out of an area that wasn't so great. We'll just say that, a lot of my family members, my cousins, people that I grew up with, end up getting pregnant really young, or becoming, drug dealers or criminals, or whatever you want to say, all that, just because of the environment really that they live in. They don't know any better. That is what they are literally susceptible to. And I think it was maybe 3 years ago, I want to say, maybe 3 or 4 years ago, I went back home for a family reunion, and my grandparents owned a gas station on East Main Street in Bridgeport, where I grew up. And they sold it. They ended up moving down here to Florida and retired in Orlando. They're living their best life. And, my grandfather and my grandmother, they're like, oh, we just want to show you the gas station and what it looks like now, because new people bought it, they rebuilt it. And they're like, let's go show you. And, it's not legal to smoke weed there. And, you pull up to the gas station and there's someone with like the window down, the door open, and he's literally rolling a blunt right there. And I have absolutely nothing against weed, but that's just the type of environment that I grew up in for a certain period of time. So coming down to Florida and seeing this, oh my gosh, it was a completely different world. And I didn't understand how a lot of the people that we knew growing up, they wanted to have life like how where I came from. And I'm like, trust me, you do not want to be like that. You do not want to be in that life. It's very hard to, get an education even. It is so hard for you to not succumb to poverty. It is so hard where I grew up to make anything of yourself, if you want to say that. Is very, very hard to do so. And so when I came here, it was just like a whole new world for me. And I saw all this beautiful palm trees and the beaches and all this stuff. And I just couldn't understand how anyone would want to live life how, I guess it's probably just a lot of media though. Like a lot of the music and just ways of living now have idolized that way of being, when we know that's not really where you should hold value in life, is, any of that kind of thing.
Unfortunately, it's like the way pop culture has evolved in the past, honestly, like 10 to 15
I was
years.
going to say almost 20 years.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think of the days when I was doing the basketball, cheerleading dances, and some of that music was super inappropriate. You're like, all right, hey parents, I don't know if you're aware of this, but this is the type of music your kids are. But now I think it's gotten worse. And of course, the exposure on social media, everyone has a phone, a device that they can watch a TikTok video, a YouTube video. And the music, these artists they're saying some pretty raunchy, degrading things. And
Yeah.
it's unfortunately being accepted by culture, and it is
Yeah.
what it is, but it's
It's
also,
almost kind of crazy that we do kind of just accept it. And, um, you know, just the power of words it's insane. And that goes beyond just the words that you're speaking. It goes into what you're listening to as well, because whether you realize it or not, your brain is absorbing the information that you're playing in the background. So, if you're around your house cleaning and you have this music on that might not be sending the best message to you or those around you, what kind of mindset or what kind of mind frame is that going to put you in for the rest of the day? I personally, I love listening to music that is just so calming and soothing now. Yeah, sometimes I get back to where I'm like, yeah, I want to listen to like a little party music or whatever. But for the most part, I don't really engage with that anymore, because I just, you feel your frequency shift when you hear that. I also feel my frequency shift when I watch the news, when I read something online. And that is why we have to be so, so aware of everything that we are keeping around us, we have to be super aware of that.
Mhm.
And the people too.
Right. And whether that's, I mean, it's a real conscious decision, you know, it of course may not be the
Yeah.
easiest to let a relationship go or a friendship, but you have to be, again, kind of mindful and take care of yourself. Like, what if it's not helping you or supporting you or helping you grow in any fashion or form? In my opinion, I don't think, you know, that's the best type of person to have in your life. And of course, growing up in a small town, it's not as easy to maybe connect with more people who are on this level or
Yeah.
wavelength. But, you know, I think it's important, again, to kind of have these conversations, to connect with others who are doing or experiencing those same basically struggles, right?
Yeah, definitely. Because I do see it when I have my friends who, you know, they're maybe more in the, they're just not open to this kind of stuff, I guess. And then I have friends who are super open to it. And the difference when you hang out with one of the, you know, one versus the other, I don't want to say it like that, but it is astronomical. You know, you go from this like literal 3D way of being to this other person who is not only sharing the same values as you, but they're implementing more knowledge to you as well. And you guys are doing that back and forth with one another the whole time you're together, or just talking like how you and I are doing right now. And it makes me realize that, you know, you can have more of that around you, and that those type of relationships to me right now are more sacred, and that is where I want my energy to go to more. And like I said before, some people might start to see you as selfish. They might not understand where you're coming from. Even your family members. Oh my gosh, my family members. My mom and my dad, they're very understanding of who I'm becoming. My dad is extremely spiritually aware. Him and I have been going through this journey this whole time, which is such a blessing to me. My mom, not so much, but she also understands who I am. She knows I'm a very independent individual. So when I got out of that relationship a few months ago, I started living on my own. And I'm just not someone who allows anyone into my house at any given time. My space is very sacred to me. I have like candles going all the time and incense burning, and I smudge my house, and my energy here is so, so, so precious to me because I've made it this way. And I don't just want my mom showing up at my house at any given time, or one of my friends just showing up. And my aunt had said something to my mom, and she's like, "Oh, I don't think that's right," and blah, blah, blah. And I'm just like, you know, it is what it is. That's just how I see it. If you don't think that's right, that's okay, because you're not understanding just where I'm coming from yet. And maybe you will one day, but I'll come over to your place when I'm ready to, and I'll have you come into my place when I'm ready to. And that is one thing I think that I'm really learning, is setting boundaries and keeping boundaries, because we are taught to give everything to everyone all the time. Like I said, work hard, work as hard as you can, give your all, do everything you possibly can to make others around you see like what you can strive to do and be. And it's like, maybe take a step back and realize, is this person or is this situation that I'm in worth giving my all and my everything? Because there's a lot of people around us who are like, you know, energy vampires, if you want to call them. They just want to suck all the life that you have in you out of you. And I try to keep away from those type of people now. I recognize those behaviors very easily, and I have to set very clear, very, very clear boundaries, and you have to stick to them. You know, if something is not resonating with you initially, your intuition is not guiding you in the wrong direction. It's giving you that feeling for a reason, you know?
I mean, it's guiding you to a better place where you can, again, continue to attract better things in your life, because you were truly just holding yourself back. And it's one of my
Yeah.
favorite not favorite songs, but favorite lines. But the U2 song, it's called "Get Out of Your Own Way," and it's one of those triggered thoughts that I have when I'm like resisting change and like, you're just standing in
Yeah.
your own way, sister. Like,
Yeah.
you keep complaining, desiring change, and you're like, well, why do I feel this way? And it really is because you're giving away your power, your truth. And it's like, no, I know that feeling, and it's truly disempowering, and I don't like that feeling. And I'll be honest, that's basically what this week has kind of been shifting and sorting through. I'm like still like letting go of
Hmm.
and the people and things that I don't need. And
Yeah.
it is extremely challenging, but after this, it's all said and done, it's like, okay, now we move forward and expand
Yeah.
and, again, staying open to just better things. And I know it's not a perfect world, and we're very blessed to live in a country and state, of course, that we still have the freedoms that we do. So I don't want to
Yeah.
take advantage of them while they're here, but again,
Yeah.
thankful and grateful for them is is the best thing to continue growing and moving forward.
Absolutely. Yeah, and I think like what you were saying about resistance, that's one thing a lot of people they don't even realize. And I think because a lot more people are becoming more spiritually aware and are self-aware and spiritually awakened, um, everyone's finding about like the law of attraction and manifesting and all these different tools that we're able to utilize to help us align with what it is that we truly want to be in our most authentic self. But with that, there's so many other things that come along with it as well. People want to manifest things in their life, but they might not be doing it maybe the way that I don't want to say should be doing it, but with manifestation, there's so many things that could lead you to, you might want something super specific, but you're not being clear about it. So then you do attract things into your life and you're like, well, I wanted this, but how come this came instead? Well, you weren't clear about what you wanted. And then to take a step further than that, like you were saying about resistance, maybe you don't even know that you're resisting what you want because you have these idols and these beliefs in your head that are literally stopping or blocking you. It's causing literal blockages in your system from allowing that into your life. And if we want to take it even a step further past resistance, is detachment. Detach yourself from thinking that you have to have this in your life or you have to stick to this one belief or that this is how things are going to be. Understand that you have infinite love within you. You are a eternal spiritual being living a temporary existence in this human form, and you are worthy and you deserve everything that comes to you. So don't get so attached to this one thing, because maybe that one thing isn't actually what's supposed to align you with your most authentic self. But we get so caught up in like, well, this is what I want and this is what I want and I'm not getting it. And it's like you have to let go of it. You have to be like, yeah, okay, this is what I want. Visualize yourself already having it. Align yourself with that version of you that has it. Let go to the resistance that might be causing it, and also let go of the attachment to it. And then you can really start to move forward with yourself. And most of the time you'll find that you end up getting what you want if you follow those steps. So I don't know about you, what other, like, I guess, tools do you use in your day-to-day basis? Like, I love using tarot and I love studying astrology. Both of those things are huge tools that I feel like guide me to what it is that I need to know or hear. Sometimes maybe when a message isn't super clear through my meditation, those are the practices that I also follow. But I know that you talk to a lot of different people who maybe use other techniques and practices and stuff like that. So what are things that you maybe do to help you feel more aligned with yourself?
Sure. So definitely just, I mean, I've recently been trying to just wake up, having that moment of gratitude. Like before I even open my eyes, I'll just like put my hand over my chest and my like
Mm,
solar plexus and just breathe, I'm enough, I'm worthy, just a couple affirmations and, being for right now, like most thankful for my respiratory system, being able to breathe, and not have coronavirus. So
yes,
on that,
yes.
I've used tarot cards, oracle cards. I have
Mhm.
crystals that I keep around. I believe
Mhm.
in the power in energy. So of course, just being basically your own temple and vessel and keeping your whole system functioning well with, again, good people, mindful thoughts, your, of course, immediate surroundings, keeping your own
Yes,
space very sacred, getting enough
that's
sleep.
amazing.
It's so much. It's a lot of all in one. But I know when I'm like off balance in one, and it's a weird ebb and flow. But once you kind of, you really just have to practice more, because it's not
Yeah.
something. It's okay that we don't know these things. We're not taught, and we're like kind of just relearning, and we're at the baby stages, if you will, of kind of
Yeah.
growing up, and it's best for us as a spiritual being rather than a, human slave.
Yeah, seriously. And a lot of people, with this, most of us are in quarantine right now. Um, it's so crazy how the dynamic is like one or the other, I feel like, for most people right now, where you have people who are like just super depressed and anxious, and they're kind of sticking to these, like, for lack of better words, like 3D way of being right now, succumbing to just watching tons of TV shows and playing video games, like eating tons of junk food. For me personally, though, I feel like I'm that complete opposite of that. I've really taken the time to work on myself, heal myself. I've been eating a lot better. I've been working out regularly. I've been reading a lot more. I don't really watch TV, and if I do watch stuff, it's probably going to be something on YouTube that's related to spirituality.
I really like how you started with that whole thing. I think that's a lot of what this whole awakening is doing, kind of shifting, like, what do you value in life? What do you want to have in life? Is it really a big house with all the cars and the fancy jewelry and basically this very insecure self? Why do you need all these things to show someone how flashy you are? Why can't you
Yeah,
who you are, and that light can
yeah,
give you more than, yeah, the diamonds that exist on your wrist? And there's nothing wrong with having those things either.
yeah.
I like having nice things just as much as but again, it's what, you know again, the money thing, of course, it's adding value to what you want to put your time and energy into. It's more than just,
Yes,
you know your currency is your energy.
yes, yes. And that's one thing, is that we place value in monetary things, and we place value in money so much. And I find myself, I don't place value really in money anymore. I haven't for a really long time. I mean, to me, it's a tool. It's a tool that I use to pay my bills so I can have this house over my head and all these other things. But I don't find the value in money. So, like, if I'm at work and I absolutely had a super long day, I took way more clients than I should have. And then I look at my numbers at the end of the day compared to maybe a regular day. Yeah, the numbers are nice, the money is nice, but how do I feel at the end of the day? I feel drained. I probably didn't get a chance to eat. I maybe barely even got a chance to use the restroom. And I've been overexerting my energy to people all day long. So do I really find value in maybe an extra $150 in my pocket at the end of the day, versus keeping my schedule the way that, where I can feel like I can breathe, I can take a lunch break, I can actually engage and interact with my clients in a way that isn't so just hectic and all over the place. And I think that's what, for me, one thing that this has taught me is that I really need to tone it down in my work life. I'm so young, and I feel like for years now I've been doing this, and I just keep going and going and going and going. And I'm just like, Joe's, yes, you're young and you want to, build this business for yourself, but you need to understand how to put your energy in the right places at the right time, instead of giving it all to everyone, like, once again, all the time at work. And even just in my personal life too.
So are you doing mostly like microblading? I'm not even too sure what you're
No, So I work in North Fort Myers, and I booth rent under a friend of mine, and she's the one who mainly does microblading, and then I do eyelash extensions. So literally, she does eyebrows all day. I do lashes all day. We trade clients back and forth sometimes between each other, and it's a great environment. The energy is great in there. She's super awesome. I absolutely love her. She's helped me so much, and I do feel a very sense of like the people who support me as far as even my clientele goes. They're an amazing group of women. But with the beauty industry, it's also one thing because it's very hard for me to associate that with this sometimes, because it's all about looks, instant gratification, and yes, it is. It's very superficial. And what it is that I try to bring into my clients' lives every day, besides just making them feel beautiful on the outside, is making them feel beautiful on the inside too. So when you come to me, I don't want you to just feel like you're getting your lashes done and you feel so great and beautiful after your appointment. I want you to sit there and talk with me the whole time, and hopefully I made you leave feeling even better than when you came in because of what we had discussed or whatever it is that I brought into your life. I was actually talking to a friend about this the other day, and he was like, oh, he hasn't been able to get his hair cut, right? And guys, they love to get their hair cut like every 2 weeks, and they feel clean, and he hasn't been able to get a haircut or his beard trimmed in like 5 weeks. So he's really struggling. He's like, well, just when you look good, you feel good. And I'm like, well, no, not really, because you can feel good on the inside without outwardly having to look good. But what we have been taught in society is to make your appearance look better. And then you know what? Even if you feel really shitty on the outside, your appearance is looking good, so you're going to feel good too. And that's okay. That is okay sometimes. Maybe you are having a really shitty day and it's really, really hard for yourself to maybe get out of that place. But instead of looking at yourself in the mirror and putting on this makeup and doing your hair and putting all this stuff on, like I said, yes, that does absolutely help. How about you look at yourself in the mirror and tell yourself how beautiful and worthy you are of everything, instead of going with all that, false, superficial way of doing things. And that is so what we've been wrapped up in society for such a long time. I mean, look at these Instagram models. Like, these girls don't actually look like that.
I wonder, okay, what is their real personality? Do they even speak? Do they have any other, like, it's just so, it's more than superficial. I mean, it's just their true only body image. You just want to see their ass, their tits, their lips, the beautiful hair. That's
Yeah.
probably fake. And
Mm-hmm.
I value the work that you do, of course, because nobody wants to really do makeup. And if you can get the two most natural things on your body, just enhance exactly. Like, I get my eyebrows waxed and filled. I'm not going to deny that.
Yeah.
But it saves me time, of course, and I don't have to stress about doing any of that work. But beyond that, it's, I'm not promoting myself on, like, I put a caption that is more enlightening, I guess. Like, sure, I capture you with, like, the pretty image, but it's more than that. My intention's beyond. It's like I want to put more truth and expression about myself, and if you're, resonating with that, then you read it. If not, then you're just
Yeah.
scrolling through.
Right. Exactly.
The world we're truly living in. It's like this, I don't want to say divide, but it almost is a little bit of a separation of that 3D dimension 4D shift that we're like, we're all still kind of here, but like, let's level up together and continue thriving in that nature.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it is. I feel like it is such a beautiful time, honestly, that we even get to be a part of this. We are here living this right now. Like, we are living in the middle of a pandemic, but we are still finding the beauty and the positivity, um, and trying to radiate that and illuminate other people to what it is that we've seen. And it's actually kind of crazy because, like I mentioned earlier, my dad and I, we have been, on this journey for a long time. And I remember my dad sending me videos like 2-3 years ago talking about how the event is coming and that this event was coming to literally awaken a greater consciousness on this planet. And these videos didn't really talk about what it would be. They didn't specify that it was going to be a virus or anything like that. But as far as like the whole Area 51 thing, the political stuff that's been going on, like, you know, all of these things that are going to happen in the future with different, like, global events as far as nature goes, all of that is happening now. And I realized, I was like talking to my dad, I'm like, Dad, we've known this was happening. You know, we didn't know when and how and why and whatever. But when you seriously can actually sit down and maybe listen to these messages that your higher self and that version of you that's divinely guided is trying to tell you, you'll find yourself more drawn to, like you said, those posts that you're making online, those things that you know are going to align yourself with the information that you're truly supposed to be harboring right now. And then that's going to help you, you know, talk to other people about that and stuff too, because I've told people that I'm like, I knew this was happening. I didn't know it was going to be happening like this. And I don't want to say I was prepared by any means, because I've been out of work for basically like what, 4 or 5 weeks now, something like that. And it's just like, yeah, I wasn't prepared in the sense of maybe all of that, but I was prepared to know what to do as far as looking inwardly and not falling into those traps, anger, anxiety, depression, all those, you know, low vibrational ways of thinking and being that a lot of people are succumbing to right now. And it's sad to see happen to a lot of them. And I just want to help everyone out in this time. And that's why I felt like this was such an awesome opportunity for us to do this. And when I saw your post, I was like, I have to try to be a part of that right now. This is something I've been looking into doing. And it really is crazy how things are really lining up. I've only been in this apartment now for a couple months, and I was really thinking about gardening. And I was like, I wonder if they would allow me to have like a little plot somewhere where I can go and garden or whatever. And I was with a friend and we were longboarding around her apartment complex, you know, still social distancing. And I noticed that there was this area that looked like a garden. And I kind of slowed down. I'm like, she's like, I've never seen this part of the complex before. And she's been living there for a couple years now. And I'm like, is that a garden? So we go and we explore it, we check it out, and there's like a little sign. And sure enough, there's plots that are available. She ended up calling a couple days later, and we're like, okay, cool. So maybe we can, you know, take the time every Sunday or something to go and tend to the plot and garden. And I've been now saving all of my vegetables, scraps and fruit scraps and all of that stuff to have a compost pile. And, you know, I've been saving my avocado seeds so that we can grow those. And it's just now trying to be more resourceful in a different way than what we're used to. And that is what everyone should really be trying to do right now, rather than succumbing to just watching Netflix and eating junk food. Maybe do a little bit of research about how you can grow a plant in your backyard that is going to literally give you, you know, you can have your own tomatoes, you know that they're organic, you grew them yourself. How accomplishing even is that for you to know, I did that, and this is my tomato that I grew, and I know that there's no pesticides or GMOs in it. So those are just the kind of things that I've been aligning myself with and trying to do and grow myself in better ways, even just those tiny little steps. Like, okay, cool, we get to go garden every week now. I get to be outside in nature and touch the dirt and ground myself, and, you know, also bring more to this earth as well. So I'm super excited about that also. Like, just to go gardening.
I unfortunately don't have that much space to grow, but I did do a little bit of like a herb plantings. I did like dill, basil, and cilantro. Started from seed, and they're finally sprouting. So it is super gratifying and rewarding, because I used to harvest when I was living in San Carlos Park. It was like pigeon peas. So you started from seed, or like a little cutling, and I mean they grow rapidly, but it takes time, and it just slows you down. Have another appreciation for your meal, your own backyard, just your space in general, and that's the whole reconnectivity that I envision. I really want to strive to moving towards very soon, I want to manifest not living on a farm, but in maybe a village of some type of like tiny home where there is space to grow food organically. There's not pesticides or a corporation injecting it with God knows what. You have that power again and reconnection. And not only is that good for your soul, it's just holistically good for the earth, for yourself, for, the people you're surrounding yourself with. And you know that's the world I dream of creating. And it's really
Me too.
exciting to know that, because in high school I would have no idea that you were to this level of understanding or even experimenting with life, then, spiritually, because my spiritual awakening didn't really happen until after I left high school and entered like a time of social experimenting and culture and travel and creating my own rules again. But it's it's cool. It's really neat that we have.
Amazing. It's so amazing. I find the beauty in all of this, honestly. And, there is some days that are harder than others, obviously. I've even had days where there's like emotional purging. Like, seriously, you are crying so hard to the point you're like, I might throw up. But honestly, it's so liberating. It is just so freeing to feel those emotions, to express them, because I feel like personally my whole life I've almost been put on this pedestal. People are always like, "Oh, Joes, you're so perfect." It's like, I don't want to be perfect. No one is perfect. And so for a long time, I was chasing this ideal of perfection that doesn't exist. And I didn't really understand or learn that until I started reading books and gaining knowledge on these, different type of ways of thinking. And I realized that it wasn't only because I was trying to chase perfection, it's because other people have been putting me on a pedestal for way too long. And that's where those boundaries come into place, where if someone is trying to tell you you're perfect and whatever, and it's like, I appreciate you, and that is amazing that you see me like that, but I am not perfect. No one is perfect. And I'm glad that you know appreciate this version of me, but the version of who I'm meant to be is going to keep evolving, and it's going to keep changing, and I'm never going to be perfect in this journey. So please don't put me on a pedestal that I'm never going to be able to really reach. It's a falsehood that they have in their head of you, because it's not who you truly are. And that's one thing that I've had to learn to do, is like be a little bit more vulnerable with myself and with those around me, because especially with like a lot of my astrology placements, I am someone who very more logical thinking first and foremost before anything. So I don't like to put my emotions out there or show them to people. And that's one thing I'm definitely trying to do more. And like I said, it's so liberating to be able to do that without fear of being judged or anything like that, because that's really what's been holding me back for a long time from showing this side of myself. And then it's so crazy, because once you do show this side of you, you of course attract those people who love it, and you feel so much better, and those positive affirmations are way 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 better than me holding on to that fear of being judged.
That's when again it's like we're all kind of showing our true self. And I love the word authentic, because it's like everyone is, again, those Instagram models, everyone's cookie cuttering this image of what we're all supposed, like what beauty is, what perfection is, and it doesn't exist. It's such an illusion, and it's a falsified, persona, all of it. It's like there's so much more. So again, it's pretty, I guess we've all been saying it for a while. It's like beauty is not found on the outside. It's like what's within. But that never really hit home, I guess, or made much sense to me until you really maybe even get into a relationship or a friendship. People do, again, what you're saying, like put you as so perfect. You get these comments and the likes and the everything.
Yeah.
And it's like you might be dealing with something inside that they don't know about, or and so when you can express that truth to them, I think it's again a really interesting experience for yourself because you're able to kind of purge that or even let it go and heal through it. You're also showing the, a part of you that, you know, they didn't know existed, of course, because they were
Yep.
just so limited to just perceiving you as who you look like, who you are on the outside. And, we
Yeah.
can take the time or even have the time, we're again living in basically that life before quarantine. Where it's like go, 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 I have to be here at this time unless you do make time to have a dinner or coffee or, we're always
I
just rushed to make it to the next appointment or yeah, Netflix show or like whatever it looks like
yeah.
it's a person's time management, but we're so distant to really connecting on a more present level of, time with someone. So it's
Yeah.
lovely that, I hope people are able to take the time with their family, friends, and even people like this. Like this has been
Yeah.
something that, it's it just brings everything kind of back together. And it's like a
It
full
connects us all. And we're in this point right now where we are all connecting so greatly with one another. I've taken part in, and you probably have done it as well, um, many of these, what are they called, like collective guided meditations. Oh my gosh. And it's so amazing to see people from all over the world connecting to meditate together. Like, what kind of world are we living in? That is such a beautiful thing that we're able to do that, and we're able to literally raise the frequency of the earth by doing so, by shifting our consciousness and going within and understanding that we are all connected and unified in one way or another. I mean, and people think I sound crazy for that because I always say that. I feel so connected to everyone is so different, but we're also connected in the same sense. And I literally tweeted that one day, and someone was like, "What kind of drugs are you taking?" Like, that's just my brain. That's just the way I think.
maybe posted something or shared something to me, and I wasn't familiar with the concept, but now that we're on this literal wavelength of talking about energy frequencies and stuff, the Schumann Resonance, I think it was
Yeah,
called. What
yeah.
is it all about? I've never heard of that until you had shared about it.
So basically, if you look it up online, you can actually see um, there's been periods of time where if you look at it's just the way the energy is basically radiating from the earth or within the earth. And when you look at the scale, and if you're able to find someone who maybe posts like a before and after. So one of the people that I follow, his name is Doughty. I've talked about him before. He did a guided meditation with him and a few other people that he, they're all kind of like, raising consciousness and that kind of thing. They had about 1 million people, I think, that joined into their group guided meditation. And you can actually see the spikes on the scale go up in the earth, like of how the energy has shifted to a way higher vibration by 1 million people meditating together at one time from all over the planet. Imagine if we were able to come together as a collective on the entire planet and get to a place where we're able to all put that kind of energy out all the time. I mean, can you imagine the type of vibration and frequency we would be resonating at that point? It would be insane. It would be absolutely amazing. And we're going to get to that point, but it's just all within due time. And what we're doing right now, this is going to resonate with some people. It's not going to resonate with others right now, but it might in the future. I was watching this video of this guy the other day, and he was talking about just like with the new moon shifts and stuff going on, what you might be feeling. And I love watching those videos because I usually feel guided to them for one reason or another, and I almost always resonate with everything that it's saying. And he was like, you might feel compelled to pick up a book right now that 5 years ago you would have not understood a word it's been saying, and for some reason you felt compelled to pick it up, and you're understanding, you're grasping everything, it's all resonating with you. And that's actually what happened with me with this book that I told you about, the Motivation Manifesto. I think I've had this book since I was 19. And I remember picking it up, trying to read it a little bit, and the concepts were like so far-fetched to me because I was just kind of coming into learning about crystals and energy and being empathic and stuff like that. So reading what it's talking about in here, I was like, oh my gosh, how is this motivating me? I don't even understand what it's saying. And the other day I just was like, oh, let me go into my like little library that I have. What kind of books do I have in here? I really want to, read a book. And I was like, oh, I forgot about this book. And the second that I opened it and I read that page, I was like, wow, this is the book that I need to be reading right now. And it is just giving me so much more enlightenment as to how to heal myself and how to move forward with everything that's been going on and just the past traumas and things like that that I've dealt with. It talks a lot about like self-oppression, societal oppression, how to really free yourself from your mind and that kind of thing. And I feel like I'm just aligning with that more authentic version of myself and the way that's going to help me get to where I need to be moving forward, It's just so amazing that I have all of these synchronicities around me anyways, because it's just a beautiful thing.
For sure. And I mean, again, staying open to seeing it, witnessing it all, and saying, okay, yes, thank you for guiding me to this book and giving me basically that message or the truth in that moment that I needed to hear. And
Yeah,
my
that message.
thing. And for me, I've just fully not depended on, but I love numbers and seeing like, hey, angels, like, what's up? Am I doing the right thing today? And basically,
Yeah,
I'll look to something, whether that's again a song, a number. Um, it might even just be like a word sometimes, or even a license plate. Like it's crazy how deep it can go into. But it's
yeah.
I know I'm like at that level of basically playing with the universe, and
Ah,
I guess that's what that book is kind of teaching too, huh? Motivation,
yeah, definitely, definitely.
is that what it's encouraging?
It is a lot about motivation, but it's also it's motivating you because it's teaching you that you've been in this structure and this is how you can come out of it. You know what I mean? Like there's declarations in here and everything that just really really resonate with me as to what it is that I'm going through, because it just teaches you to stop. And I even posted on our Instagram earlier because it talks about like, instead of being more about aversion, ascend, be more about your ascension, be more about your freedom. Stop just harboring these thoughts of fear and negativity that we hold to ourselves. And that's one thing it talked about a lot is fear, because we are living in a very fear-based society right now. We fear everything. Everyone fears everything. You fear the higher ups, the elitists of this country, the people who are running things right now. And then you also fear just doing things in a day-to-day life. Like maybe you really want to get into a new career, but you fear what people are going to say to you. And then it even goes into depth about those type of people that you need to look out for and how to kind of stay away from that, because there is a lot of people who they might think that they're coming from a place of love and like, hey, I can attest this because I've talked about in my business for a long time, maybe wanting to have like work in 2 different locations at once, or maybe guest spot once a month in a different location in Tampa or Orlando or something like that. And people tell me, they're like, Jose, that would be really hard for you to do. Yeah, it would be really hard for me to do, but why can't I do it? It's just, and they're just telling you that maybe just like, hey, just be careful. It's going to be hard for you to do. You just need to make sure you're making the right decisions for yourself. And I've been in the game with this for a long time now. I have clients that I've had for years and years and years that have followed me from Southwest Florida back and forth. So why can't I decide to make a guest appearance in Tampa once a month? Why can't I decide to go to California once a month? And I see artists do it all the time. Is it hard? Absolutely. But when it's what you want, when it's what resonates with you, you'll make it happen and you'll love it. And you'll even get such a great sense of satisfaction from it too.
Yeah, and it's, all due respect to the person who is trying to give you that insightful wisdom, but it's like you're the one living the experience, you know your truth, and of course, intuitively, you're like, no, I'm being guided to do this, or no, I'm challenging myself to see how far I can go. And that's really their own lack of understanding and, of course, fear-based
Yeah.
conditioning that they're like, oh, you can't do that. You can't. You're crazy.
I know.
No, you can do whatever you put your mind to. And it's just a whole another level of committing to saying, yes, like, this is what I want to do. And
Yeah.
that comes with a lot of meditation, just being more clear on what you want, because yeah, you might get to that point, you're like, oh shit, this isn't actually what I expected or had desired, but I am here. So now, like, what's next? And it's life. It's a beautiful, beautiful thing.
Yeah. And all of that is just helping us align with what is really meant for us. And it's a journey. Like I said earlier, it doesn't happen overnight. It's never going to happen overnight. And the journey never ends. It's never going to stop. But when you realize you have all this power within you to literally create the reality that you want to live, you can't go back from that anymore. And that's the point that we're at. And now we are the ones who are creating this reality. Like you said, you want to be a part of a community of tiny houses, and you guys can garden and farm and all that stuff. That's the reality that you're creating right now, and that's such a beautiful thing, because it's a greater sense of community. Also, you're not doing it because you're being selfish, or you're not thinking of it just for yourself. Yes, you're coming first, but it's also to aid everyone also around you, and mother nature, mother earth here, so that we're not having these like huge buildings and complexes taking up so much space, and just ruining everything that she has to offer us.
They're extremely unsustainable, and
Yeah.
it is what it is with all the people we have. And I was having a conversation with someone last night, but that also comes from like conditioning. It's like, oh, you're going to be happier and successful if you have a family and you build a house, and we've been told to do these things for so long. And you look at all of these developments that are basically empty for half the year or not, because these people, they come and they go, and
Yep.
it's not good for so many things, the economy, the planet. But if you think about the resources, like, it's all utilizing to get the stuff there and the materials there. Beyond that, it's the energy that's still being used to burn, the fossil fuels and get the electricity moving and going. And
Absolutely.
horrible. It's nice to know that our earth has been able to breathe a little bit more because we've slowed down, but we're all like, when it is all lifted and goes back to normal, like, we're still going to have these issues of facing climate change and
Yeah.
problems where our food is coming from. So I really hope people have learned and are starting to adapt to doing those more self-sufficient skills. And I'm myself, like, I'm kind of yelling at myself internally for not doing more planting and trying to get more involved locally. But I get that, like, you have to be mindful of the social distancing right now. It's the best thing and smartest thing
Yeah.
for health, and respecting somebody else's life and immune system, of course. So
Right. Well, one thing that this book also had touched on was like, you know, those people who have made a really big difference in our society and our world, they're not the people who stay on the sidelines. Like, those might be good people because they're supporting you, but those are not the people who are going to make a change in the world. The people who are going to make a change in the world are the ones who are using their voices, using their power, and being actual leaders in this time. And just by doing this, and creating more of a sense of community within one another, so we can understand and maybe do some critical thinking and communicate with each other different ideas as to how we can make those things change. That's what we need right now. We don't need anyone who's just staying on the sideline thinking and hoping and wishful thinking that things are going to one day get better. Like, we really need to be making the change in this time to come together and unify with one another, and understand and come up with new ideas as to how we can change things, because in the next few years, the way that things are, it's be completely different, just as far as the structured system of living. And we have to just think about, you know, like I said, we need to be more resourceful and like not burn as much, like you were saying, those fossil fuels and all these resources that we are just depleting from the earth. You know, we have to do better than this. We have so much technology and so many people who are advanced with knowing how to utilize that. And we just need to tap into how to make things better now, you know, going forward, and keep thinking of these different ways to do things, instead of just being like, well, you know, I just hope things go back to normal. They're not going to. You gotta make a new norm, you know?
Maybe people figure out what change basically do you feel guided to again to bring to the world. And I said it in my first message, and I think that's kind of what guided you to resonate with this in the first place. Like the whole just adding value of community and again sustainable
Yes.
initiatives to bring people back to life itself. Because when you garden and again get your hands dirty and grimy, like it's awesome. Like that's what we
Yes.
have to do as humans. We're the ones who've disconnected by putting ourselves in boxes and hardwood floors and clean tops and food from a grocery store. But we can
Yeah,
and do better, and it does
absolutely.
a whole different experience to life.
Absolutely.
Because I've experienced it before. And
Yeah.
it's
Yeah. And there's just a lot of people in the world who, I just think in America, you know, we just, as a Western culture, we are so disconnected from doing things that way anyways. We don't utilize plants for medicine. We don't utilize coming together as a community, or any of those things really. You know, we rely on medicine from pharmaceuticals. We rely on, you know, a lot of people do drugs that are, you know, super harmful to your body, that have been created by the government, that type of thing. And just the Western way of just being in the image that we portray to people. My friend said it the other day. She was like, America, she said she saw a meme that was like, America is just a third world country with a Gucci belt on, because we act like we're evolved as a society, but really when you look at how other people in the world do things, we're not that evolved.
pretty backwards and really just ignorant. And I can say that
Yeah.
as an American, like we're extremely unaware of what's happening outside of our own bubble of existence, even in our own state. Like
Yeah.
I'm very, I'd say self-centered, but it's when you again stay open to remembering, okay, we're on this global, Earth is our spaceship, and we all share water, and
Yeah.
it's not told like, oh, how Kenya's Western flood like wiped out 4,000 people in their village, or how immediately like India's droughts are affecting their production of food. Like we're not told. We're just
Yeah.
we go to the store, we go to Subway, we go to Publix, we go to McDonald's, we have all these sources. We're abundant, and it's truly like disgusting how no, we're actually very like we depend on that system that we've designed to be in place. And again, this COVID closure thing, I think for me specifically, like I never realized how much I depended on restaurants to provide me food, and that was that habitual like lifestyle I had become like comfortable with living in, because I was a waitress, and it's like, oh, it's all good, everyone's being fed by someone, or food being
Yeah.
it's great. But it's like, no, a lot of that again is coming from basically a corporate food provider, distributor, and
Yeah.
it's like you still don't know where it's coming from,
Yeah.
who, who has had their hands on it, where it was grown, what the animals were fed, this,
I was
that, the
gonna
other.
say the animals. Yep. Yeah. We just need to have more compassion, I think, you know, to even just educate ourselves with those type of things, and to expand our way of thinking past just, this is what it is, and I know this is what I have, and I know that this is, you know, it's giving me this instant gratification right now. Well, if you expand your way of thinking past that, then you'll be able to understand where other people are coming from. Like I heard that in other countries, it's actually super hard for them to pick and grow bananas. And that's one thing we like in America. You know how many bananas are wasted. You see them when you go to the grocery store. And we don't even know how hard it truly is for those people to obtain those. We don't even know that because we're not compassionate and we're not, thinking or even being grateful for the fact that we're able to go to the grocery store and buy a bunch of them where someone out there had to, climb that tree and pick those bananas and we didn't have to worry about it. So I definitely have had a greater sense of gratitude and appreciation for everything that I have had, and I'm trying to stay within that and just remind myself that, just of what I want going forward in the future, have more of a clear vision. I really would love to incorporate a lot of this into my business moving forward and just surround myself with more people who understand these messages that we're trying to relay, and hopefully become, not a teacher in a sense, but I think that this is what we're doing a little bit. We are teaching people just by, you and I having this, whoever watches it, hopefully someone gains some type of knowledge out of it. And that's the least that we can do. It is literally the least.
No, it's like one of my ways of kind of saying it. It's like we're all kind of guiding ourselves home, like in home, of course, is basically where this unconditional love exists. And I know we'll reach that point and level of we can look around and we'll be surrounded by like that truth and community of just really authentic, wonderful people who have let go of all the bullshit that fed
Yeah.
for decades and generations, of course. And it's us as an individual, like we've shifted that entire paradigm by basically just taking our life and saying, I'm going to choose to do better and raise
Yeah.
this frequency for the next generations to experience, because we have that freedom. It's a birthright, I believe firmly that we're, again, been basically, it's been
Yeah.
stolen, but it's, reigniting our power, reclaiming our sovereignty, of course, and
Governing ourselves. Yeah.
liberating.
Definitely. Definitely.
The MTV and quit listening to the box telling me how to live it.
I know, right? Like read a book, look inwardly. When you sit down and meditate, sometimes you'll be just, it's insane the messages that you receive or the realizations that you come to. I listen to certain meditations sometimes and I'm like, as I mentioned earlier, I had my parents, they divorced when I was 13, and I think that was so traumatic for me beyond what I even realized, that I put my childhood so deep in my subconscious mind. My friends would be talking about my childhood and I'm like, I can barely remember things from my childhood. Why is that? Oh, and you just think, oh, well, you were just young. So you just like, you just don't remember those things from when you're young. Well, no, I just put them so deep into my subconscious mind because I didn't want to have to deal with them. So now all that stuff is coming up. And it is about, almost talking to your inner child and telling your inner self, like, you are worthy. You didn't have to fix this. Look at who you've become now. Are you proud of the person that you are today? Absolutely, I'm proud of who I am today. And I feel like my inner child will be proud of who I am today too. So as long as I keep up with what I'm doing now, I feel like I can't be led in the wrong direction. I am divinely guided at all times. And that is the type of faith that I lead with now. And it's such a beautiful thing to connect with other people who feel the same way, for sure.
Oh, no, that was a really good reminder for myself to, because I'm very just hard on myself. I'm like, is this really where you want to be? Is this like where you're happy with being? And
Oh,
you
yeah.
first question, like, well, what does bring me happiness? And it's getting the amount of money you have in your bank account. It's what you're adding to your life that is giving you fulfillment and joy and value
Yeah.
and connectivity. Again, there's so much more than the again, very superficial, materialistic level of existing. And
Yeah, definitely.
it's good to know. Yeah. So thank you so much for your time. I'm really
Of
thankful.
course.
I now know I have basically someone to reach out to as well. So hope for anybody
Yeah.
and feeling alone during this journey too can do the same.
Yes, yes, I'm always open to anyone coming to me for any type of guidance. By no means am I an expert on any of this, but there is a level of knowledge and tools that I utilize. So, if anyone ever felt compelled to do so, they know that we're here for them, and it's great to have this connection with you now as well. So, yeah, it was really great.
Well, if there's any last message you feel guided to share, of course, I like to end this way. And yeah, you can close off for us if you have that message.
Me just meditate on it for a second.
Of course, no problem.
Okay. So, I just hope that everyone is staying as safe and healthy in this time. Remember to stay positive, but also remember that it's okay to experience what you're dealing with right now. It's okay to feel your feelings, and it's okay to reach out to others in this time as well if you are experiencing anything that might be something you don't know how to deal with. We are all right now experiencing the same thing on this planet. There is a huge shift that's going on. None of us are alone. And we just need to remember that we are always divinely guided, and to keep our faith and to have love at all times. Just come from that place of love as much as you possibly can.
Thank you so much.
Of course.
Yes, you're wonderful, and nonetheless, a baby angel floating this earth with us. So thanks for doing so, sister.
All right, girl. Well, I hope you have a great day. I love you, of course, and I'm sure we're going to stay in contact. So,
We will definitely. Thank you again for being open to this opportunity and speaking your
absolutely. You too. Thank you.
great day and stay.
Thanks. You too. Bye.